Yanhai City Qing Shan Psychiatric Hospital is one of the top 3 psychiatric hospitals in China with state-of-the-art equipment and a special environment. The behavior of patients differs from the behavior of ordinary people, but they are very good at gathering in small groups. Some patients are very and talkative, some walk around with books and tell the future of this world. As a result of my decades of painstaking research, I found out that the end of the world will come tonight, but don't be afraid, I found a safe place. When we are alone, I'll get you there discreetly. The earth is actually square, but people outside say it's round, but they are really sick and need treatment. I have developed a method by which men can become pregnant. Next year I'll be able to receive the Nobel Prize and be on the throne of medicine. You are yet to witness this. The doctor held a medical record in his hands. He reads it every time he entered the room, nodding in satisfaction. Not bad. They are all hopeless. There were a television set on the wall near the corridor, a short-haired female presenter broadcasting the latest news. A 7th-level monster appeared in the area of Mount Tai. Many climbers died. Awakened people were sent to destroy it. We urge all citizens to think about the importance of their lives and not to travel in their wilderness unnecessarily. In a special room, this world is different from the others. Only 2 people live in it. One is old, the other is very young. Inside are various tools, barbells, sandbags, and the like. In the same room, an attractive young man lies on a hospital bed with copper wires wrapped around his body. He is the youngest mental patient in this hospital. He turns 19 this year. His name is Lin Fan. At the age of 10, he hit the top of his head with an iron hammer, saying that he wanted to cultivate the iron school skill. His head shattered into blood, almost turning into dust and dirt. Another trial was stopped. After that, he was sent for an examination. The end result lived up to expectations: severe mental illness of the 5th degree. He does not pose a threat to others, but can perform dangerous actions in relation to himself. Next to the bed, the crazy old man held 2 copper wires in his hands. He looked at Lin Fan very seriously. "I'm starting. What do you think about it?" What they are doing now is to stimulate the body with an electric current. The result is wonderful. I have walked to the White Gate many times and come back. Looking ahead, as the book says, electricity can make the body stronger, Lin Fan said. Old man Zhang is Lin Fan's assistant and the only person in the entire hospital who believes that Lin Fan's ways make it possible to cultivate effectively. He helped Lin Fan train. Lin Fan, on the hospital bed, violently jerked his body, shouting loudly. A siren sounded in the hallway. "The problem is in room 666. Those 2 have done something again. Get someone to assess the situation. Also, call an ambulance." It didn't take long. Screams rippled through the room. The patient is foaming at the mouth. He can hardly breathe. He is going to die soon. "Ren, quickly, bring the court stretcher." "Someone, grab old man Zhang quickly. Don't let him hurt anyone more." He shouted, "I will not go. I want to observe his condition. I want to record the data. Let me pass. Please, let me. The doctor shouldn't do anything." Old man Zhang grabbed Lin Fan's hand and asked, "Do you feel anything?" Lin Fan answered quietly, "Great, I feel very energetic and my mind is very clear." The acupuncture points all over my body must have opened completely, just like the book says. Once you use your technique on me, I will feel even better. Don't worry, I have all the silver needles with me. He is not a doctor and he has not received any formal training. He just bought some books from a mental hospital. These 2 will do it every day if they are happy with the results. It was hundreds of times, and the effect was amazing. He sent Lin Fan to the operating room dozens of times. This is because Lin Fan always said he saw results. The director of the hospital is only 50, but his hair has already turned gray. He seemed very tired and exhausted when things like this happened. Other mentally ill people are engaged in literature, invention, and anatomy. What wonderful hobbies! But only the old man and the young man in room 666 kill each other every time. We contacted the electricians, said the doctor. Seal all sockets in their room. Will be done. Lin Fan lies still, allowing the group in white coats to study him. He is already used to it. That child again, but why is it so serious this time? Copper wires were wrapped around his body and then connected to an outlet that powered the wires. The skin is badly burned, the pressure is stable, and the pulse is 250 beats per minute, higher than normal. He said, "Don't give me painkillers. I want to use pain to harden my will. My will is very strong. You can't even imagine how strong." After several hours of rescue operation, Lin Fan escaped the danger and was placed in a special VIP room closest to the doctor's restroom. Usually there are 3 patients in one room. It happened when family members of 2 other patients found out that they would have to live with a mentally ill person. Scared to death, the patients began to protest. "If you put us to live with a mentally ill person, we need medical help. The end result is obvious." Lin Fan received special treatment. Old man Zhang sat down in the hospital bed, peeled a banana, took a big bite, liked the taste, and brought it to Lin Fan's mouth, who still couldn't feel his arms and legs. "Try it, it's delicious." "Oh." Lin Fan opened his mouth wide and swallowed most of the banana in one bite. "Really very tasty, sweet." A man was sitting at the entrance to the ward, calmly dialing a phone number. He was a nurse in the hospital, and his task was to look after 2 mentally ill patients. They are the most dangerous patients in the history of this hospital. They don't harm other people, but the methods they used to harm themselves were the strangest and most varied. Old man Zhang approached Lin Fang's ear and whispered, "The guy behind the door is here to watch us. They cannot understand our behavior, so they say that we are psychos, but they don't know what we are cultivating. Give me a couple of injections in their arm." "No problem. I recently developed a new technique based on your physical data. Do you want to know the name?" Old man Zhang secretly pulled out the needle, pretending to be talking to the Lin Fan, but in fact, with his simple and crude technique, he was aiming at the acupuncture points. This time it is a more advanced version, Milky Way level acupuncture. From time to time, the guard at the door glanced at Lin Fan and Old Man Zhang. He found that they were talking quietly. Old Man Zhang asked in a low voice, "How do you feel?" "Everything is numb. My head is spinning," but I said okay to Lin Fan. Just now his mind was clear, but now he is suddenly confused. Can't be. Old Jan grabbed his head. He didn't understand how dizzy he could be if he made punctures in the right places at the same time. Lin Fang's head seemed large and heavy. He whispered softly, "My head is spinning and a little confused. Something floats in front of me. This is too much, someone says in my head." The old man opened his mouth as if seeing a ghost. "You can't be that sick." An alarm sounded in the room. The nurse, who almost dropped the phone from his hands, hurried to check on the patients. When he saw that there were silver needles on Lin Fang's arm, he almost fainted. "Damn it, can you stop creating problems?" He hurried into the corridor and shouted, "Doctor, doctor, something happened to the patient." "I just finished the operation to save him. Now I need to revive it again. God." The patient's pupils have decreased and the pulse has increased. Arrange an operation room for emergency rescue. System activated. The first stage granting the 1000 training technique has been activated. Please hurry up with practice. Due date March 1st. Reward unknown. Lin Fan noticed that many things he didn't know pop up in his mind. His brain did a great job and finally he passed out. Old man Zhang hurriedly turned around. This is impossible. The acupuncture book says exactly that he can eat food. Nothing should have happened. Why is his head spinning? The more I think about it, the more it doesn't make sense. The more I think about it, the more impossible it becomes. Old man Zhang took out some silver needles, took off his shirt, and pierced the acupuncture points in his body. The first needle is fine. The second needle is fine. 13th needle. Old man Zhang fainted on the ground, shocked by the people around him running away. Operation room. Doctors and nurses are very busy. Initially, saving Lin Fan was relatively easy without any problems, but after Old Man Zhang showed up, they were a bit busy. Ding Hao, aren't you playing with me by sending me such a patient? Immediately after we rescued him, he returned to the operation room again. I have nothing to say. When the rescue is over, I will personally drive the ambulance to send these two psychos back. After operation, the doctor decided to send them back, beef up the guards and reinforce the door as hard as they can. Will be done. Room 666. After a quick repair by an engineer, the door was made stronger and all the equipment in the room was removed. Old man Zhang was lying on the hospital bed, trying to get up, but his arms and legs were motionless. He lamented anxiously. I can't move. How are you? I'm cultivating, Lin Fan replied. The electric shock cultivation technique was successful. The Milky Way level acupuncture technique was also being successful. Next stage activated. Target Cheng Yang, 199th generation. Descendant of the creator of the 1000 practice technique. Mission: help Cheng Yang become a person no one else would dare to bully at school. Physical power transfer 100%. Launch. Lin Fan opened his eyes. His surroundings were somewhat unusual. He looked left and right, but it was not like in a mental hospital. The room, like the duvet, smelled very good. He lifted the blanket. Then he went to the bathroom to look in the mirror. He turned into a different person, with short hair, a pale face, and wearing pink pajamas from an unknown cartoon to Lin Fan. He must be crazy. Can he wear pajamas like that? There was a voice outside the door of this room. Yang, get up quickly. You need to have breakfast and go to school. Many other people's memories appeared in Lan Feng's mind. Cheng Yang, 3rd grade middle school student nicknamed Little Nyang Po. Eat quickly and go to school. Your father will come to school in the afternoon to discuss your situation with the teacher. These classmates of yours allow themselves too much. You are so sweet and friendly, and they scoff. I'm so angry, but you are also a man. You should not allow yourself to be bullied. You got to know how to fight back, you know? Now he is in another country. To return, you had to complete the task. But what was the mission? What should I do to fulfill it? I don't understand. Lin Fan stood on a small platform and looked at the space around him. He had never left the Qing Shan Hospital before. After much thought, he came to the conclusion that it was better in the hospital. It was too quiet here. Approaching the bus stop, he stood under the stop sign and waited. Bus 666 slowed down and pulled over. After a lot of stops, bang! What does our young Yang do? Someone slapped Lin Fan on the shoulder, not with all his might, but it was clear that he was trying to hurt him. Lin Fan didn't pay attention to the guy. No interest. Cheng Yan, when did you come? here and become so arrogant that you ignore me when you meet me. Ren Kao was upset. Usually Chen Qiang was frightened at the sight of him, like a cat of a cucumber, and afraid, like an elephant of mouse, not even daring to say a word. In the most daring way, he could say, "Don't hit me, it hurts me a lot." Lin Fan knew about this from the memories in his head. He knew that this Chen Kao with his long hair was one of the bullies, constantly in the same class. When school ended, Chen Qiang was stopped, extorted for money, and severely beaten if he didn't obey. "Didn't I ask you to take my place? Why didn't you take this place for me?" When Chen Kao saw that Lin Fan was still ignoring him, he became so angry that he turned him around with force and began to drill with an evil look, making it clear to Chen Qiang that he was looking for death. The moment he saw Lin Fan gaze, Chen Kao was a little dumbfounded. Lin Fan's eyes were not that scary, but too empty and calm, without a single hint of fear. "Chen Qiang, are you out of your mind?" Chen Kao was annoyed. He knew he was a little bully at school, but he was surprised by Chen Qiang's look. If the others knew about it, he didn't know if he could still be friends with them. Chen Kao glared at Chen Qiang, clenched his fist, and waved it in front of Lin's face. The meaning was clear: "You are waiting for me after school." Suddenly, a startled scream came from the front of the car. "Murder! The psychopath killed someone!" A crowd gathered around. All the people were scared. The man held a kitchen knife in his hand and shouted, "I'll stab you dead! Stab you! Stab you!" Lin Fan looked at the man. He shook his head slightly. "Unfamiliar smell. He is not the kind of person. He wasn't mentally ill. It looks like these people had some misconceptions about mental illness." Zhang Hao saw a man with a kitchen knife approaching and sat paralyzed with fear as he desperately crowded towards the crowd. His luck was too pitiful, but when the man holding the kitchen knife saw the girl, his expression became disgusting, and he rushed to her with the words, I will slaughter." If nothing unexpected had happened, the little girl, who was in the second grade, would have been lying in a pool of blood. Passengers around looked at him in fear. They couldn't bear it. "Someone, please save this innocent sweet girl." Everyone closed their eyes, not daring to look, but without hearing the screams, they opened their eyes and were stunned by the situation before them. The student, who was wearing a school uniform, actually grabbed the blade of a kitchen knife with his palm. Blood trickled down his palm to the ground. Even the person who was holding the kitchen knife looked at the scene in front of him in confusion. "Why are you doing it?" Lin Fan asked softly. "Let go of my knife." The man growled as he glared at Lin Fan, but after looking into his eyes, he looked away and tried to run away. It was as if the fake Li Kui had met the real Li Kui. Lin Fan aura was overwhelming him. "Isn't it hurting you?" the man asked. Lin Fan replied, "Hard." The man growled, "Then let go of the damn knife." Lin Fan said, "Why are you doing it?" Suddenly, everything inside the bus froze. The man stared at Lin Fan in a daze. Perhaps for this man, Lin Fan was so confused that he did not even understand what he was doing. The driver flinched and called the police. "Why don't you let me do what I want to do?" Lin Fan grabbed the handle of the kitchen knife and with a light movement pulled the blade out of the bloodied flesh, after which the blood began to flow even faster. He threw the kitchen knife on the ground. He helped Zhang Hao, who fell to the ground, get up and extended his right hand from which blood was gushing. "Hi, let's get to know each other again first." Zhang Hao trembled, his eyes expressing horror as he looked at Lin Fang's cold expression, and when he looked at the palm, Lin Fang's right hand, which constantly oozed blood, his heart sank. But he still slowly extended his hand and said nervously, "Hello." The doctor, bandaging Lin Fan, said with admiration, "You are really brave. You didn't even cry out after bleeding so much." Lin Fan calmly replied, "My will is unshakable. Pain is just training, and I have long been accustomed to it." The doctor looked dumbfounded at the student. "Is he psycho?" Zhang Hao sat paralyzed on the hard road. He was still in shock as he looked at the blood smeared on his palm. The figure of Chen Qiang kept popping up in his memory. "Hi, let's say hello again first." A picture popped into his mind, empty eyes, pale face. This was not at all the Chen Qiang he knew. Zhang Hao's deskmate also often mocked Chen Qiang, and when he saw Chen Hao, he said to him, "Chen Qiang is bullying your beloved Li Xu. When his lesson is over, let's drag him to the toilet and beat him. What do you say?" His name was Zhang Zitan. He was good-looking, had an inch haircut, wore earrings, was a bully, and had several girlfriends who adored his rudeness. "Don't," Zhang Hao was shocked. "Don't, I think it's better not to touch Chen Qiang anymore." "Don't touch? Why? At best, he's just a rag," Yang Zizan said. Then he noticed that something was wrong with Chen Hao's situation. "How did you become like this after one night? You were not beaten by Chen Qiang, who paid 200 yuan so that you would not do anything to do him." "No sense. Who could be brave enough to try and beat me up?" Zhang Hao objected. At the same moment, Lin Fan remembered which of them mocked Chen Qiang. He realized that almost everyone bullied him. He approached each other of his classmates with a smile and extended his hand. "Hey, let's meet again." There was always a feeling that something was wrong with him. "Hey, let's meet again." Lin Fan extended his hand in front of Yang Zizang. He glanced at Lin Fan. He asked, "Are you an idiot?" Lin Fan looked at Chen Hao and said with a smile on his face, "Hi, let's get to know each other again. We already met on the bus." Zhang Hao began to panic. His chair creaked and beds of sweat appeared on his face. "Hello." "Zhang Hao, what's wrong with you?" Yang Zitan noticed that he seemed to be afraid of Chen Qiang. What was he afraid of? He was trembling all over. It just can't be. A smile appeared on the corners of Lin Fang's mouth. He lightly patted Zhang Hao's shoulder and then returned to his seat. "What exactly happened between you and Chen Qiang?" Yang Zizan asked. Yang Hao didn't want to answer. He didn't want to talk about what happened in the morning. It was scary as hell. Was that still the Chen Qiang he knew? What? He has lost his mind. First lesson, Chinese. The Chinese teacher, who was their homeroom teacher, was a middle-aged woman who looked competent but was actually quite sly. She often pretended to be very strict and used her teacher's authority to intimidate her students. However, only the students in the back of the class know that the class teacher's character only seems strong, but it's actually quite pathetic. She often leaves them after class and says bitterly, "I am not asking you to study, just please be good." Li Xu had long since calmed down and sat next to Lin Fan. Her head seemed to boil. She looked like an ostrich, not even daring to breathe. Sometimes when Lin Fan smiled at her and expressed his benevolence, Li Xu would tremble in fear. Her face was pale and frightened. The class teacher was standing at the table holding a book and wearing thick glasses. She said, "Chen Qiang, retell this text." Lin Fan stood and said, "I'm sorry, teacher, I didn't read." The class teacher looked at Chen Qiang in shock. In her opinion, Chen Qiang was a good student who always behaved perfectly except for his weak character. Perhaps this was the first time she had heard such a response from a diligent honor student, which led her to some confusion. Okay, sit down. Thank you. Lin Fan sat down and continued to look at the teacher. There wasn't even a hint of fear in his eyes, which was a little unvarying. She stood at the table and had long been accustomed to the fact that students were looking at her, but now, for some reason, she felt a chill run through her entire body. There was no exit. She waited for the bell to ring. Class is over. The teacher gathered her things and hurried out of the classroom. For the first time, she felt so embarrassed that the students were looking at her. Lin Fan was still sitting in the seat. He considered he liked life better in Qing Shan Psychiatric Hospital, where there were people he could talk to, but here he didn't find anyone with whom he could communicate. Watching his classmates run around the classroom talking about strange topics seemed like a waste of time. He walked to the back of the classroom and crouched against the wall, staring at wall-mounted power outlets just like the ones in Qing Shan Psychiatric Hospital. Two holes, inside them a pitch darkness. No one could see what they sighed. Chen Yang, are you sick? I saw you stare at these things for a long time. What's so beautiful about this socket? If you stick your finger in there, you will get an electric shock, said a classmate. Lin Fan calmly replied, electricity can stimulate the body. If you try electrical stimulation, you will become stronger. I can definitely say that such a voltage will not kill anyone. The classmate said, come on, try it. I don't think you have the courage. Fine. Lin Fan took out the key and inserted it into outlet hall. Dangerous actions must be repeated. All actions are performed by professionals. His classmate looked and was increased attention when suddenly, at the moment someone patted him on the shoulder, he turned around and exchanging a few words with his interlocutor. Then he looked at Lin Fan again and saw that he was still skirting. Forget it, I was joking. What's wrong with you? He reached out and placed his hand on Lin Fan's shoulder. Electricity passed through it. This schoolboy was like a famous actor. His hands were dancing and shaking. What a dance! Where did you learn it? Hey, why are you silent? Another disciple reached out and touched Juji. But as soon as he did this, an inexorable current rushed through him, and it seemed to him that he saw his missing father. He stuck out his tongue and rolled his eyes. Those students who chatted with each other in the classroom laughed as if they had lost their minds when they saw the students near the power outlet, and some of them quite talented dancers joined them and awkwardly danced with each other. A round-faced, rather plump student who can dance walked over to this group of students lifting her tips to join. Her whole body was trembling and her head was shaking violently. Lin Fan, without being distracted, studied the effect of the electric current stimulating his flesh. Strange, the effect is rather weak. Maybe I experimented too much, so the current doesn't affect me so much anymore. Lin Fan had a grim expression. He knew that his hand was shaking, and his and Old Man Zhang's training would someday work. He was eager to share the results with Old Man Zhang, but the thought that he was still in this unknown and boring place made him feel lonely and miserable. I want to go home, but when will they let me? Lin Fan pulled out the key and put it in his pocket. As he was about to return to his seat, he found his classmates lying on the floor, some with singed hair, some foaming in the mouth, and some unexpectedly twitching. Strange. Lin Fan scratched the back of his head. He couldn't understand what was happening to these guys, who also called themselves normal. Even when he saw in the Qing Shan Psychiatric Hospital those who were considered to be suffering from the most severe mental illnesses, knew where to sleep. Instead of sleeping on beds, they slept on the floor. Study is really mind-blowing thing. Lin Fan wanted to lie down with them already, not wanted to be out of his element, but then a voice came from his bladder. The water tank is full. Hurry to drain the water, otherwise it will explode. I need to go to the toilet. The second lesson was mathematics. The math teacher was a vile young man who used hairspray every day. Only these words could describe it. Just handsome, the most beautiful student in the school and the most handsome male teacher. No woman between 15 and 60 could resist his charms. There was the sound of footsteps. A figure appeared at the entrance to the classroom. Dear students, the current lesson is math, your favorite. The math teacher's mouth opened in what he thought was the most beautiful pose, but soon he let out the loudest cry of his life. Students, unconscious, call an ambulance, my God, my God. In the blink of an eye, the quiet corridors of the school were filled with heart-rending screams. Some time later, Lin Fan drained his tank, but also cleaned out the debris from his intestines. His spirit was calm, and his body relaxed. It seemed to him that the current method of stimulation just used was very useful in expelling lingering impurities. As he walked back to the classroom, a sound reached the ears. Ambulance siren. The ambulance flashed its red lights as it pulled out of the school gate. Lin Fan stood quietly on the first floor and watched what was happening. He scratched the back of his head. What a terrible school! Recently, in the third grade of high school, an important event took place that all students and teachers are discussing. People are still confused. How could they all hit the ground at the same time? It's so weird. Guys, I think third grade people might have been abducted by aliens for research. I just saw someone convulsing as they were being carried away on a stretcher. Well, that's entirely possible. I read about it in a novel. It's more like a failed attempt to raise one's realm. What are you talking about? Do you seriously think there's cultivation in our world? When Lin Fan came to the entrance to the classroom, he noticed that many children were looking at him. A smile appeared on his face and he nodded to them. Hi, classmates. The bell rang for class. All the anchors filled. Only Lin Fan sat quietly in an empty classroom, quietly as he returned to the Qing Shan Hospital. He stared at the board, which had already become his daily hobby, and began to slowly close his eyes. He felt the flow of qi flowing through his body, and during his little journey with this energy, he found himself moving much more easily. The thousand practice technique. Through this technique, he realized that cultivation really existed. Although he did not know where the technique came from, his body became better and stronger. There was the sound of approaching footsteps. Chen Qiang, what are you doing here? Upon learning that something serious had happened in the class teacher immediately rushed here and saw that something happened here and immediately sent the students to the hospital. She came to class again only to see what had caused this incident. But to her surprise, she noticed Chen Qiang sitting here. Lin Fan replied, Master, I'm waiting for the lesson to start. The class teacher was silent. She had noticed even earlier that something was wrong with him, but what exactly she could not say. Chen Qiang, do you know what happened here? Lin Fan thought, I don't know, I was facing the wall, and when I turned around, I saw them all lying on the ground. Even though it's hard to study, I never thought that you could get so tired from a long study. For now, you can work out here alone. I need to go to the hospital to check on the guys. As a class teacher, she is hardly to blame for what happened. However, this can get her into trouble, such as not getting the Outstanding Teacher award. Good, Lin Fan nodded, picked up the book and began to slowly flip through. Hospital. The nurses were shocked when they learned that so many school children were being taken to them. The doctor said it was a whole class. What are they doing here instead of reading books? Nurse cut this patient's clothes. Young Zizan woke up in a daze when he heard that someone was going to cut his clothes, and immediately said, "Don't cut my clothes, they are from Armani, very expensive." Saying this, he fainted. The doctor almost growled, "She's already burned, and you're still clinging to those rags." Chinwai Middle School. The school bell rang. Lin Fan put down his textbook and left the classroom. He read several books and, finding that there were no sense, extracted the truth from them. In order to cultivate, he needed to study as much variety of information as possible. Sometimes it may seem that there is no connection between certain things, but there is only one between all things in the world. Just when Lin Fan was about to cross the threshold of the school exit, a pretty girl with pigtails ran up to him. "Here." The girl slipped something to Lin Fan and, blushing, hurriedly ran away. He looked down at the folded envelope in his hand, noticing that it was sealed with a heart, and inside was a letter. "Chen Qian, I've been watching you for a long time and noticed that no one has yet realized how cute and beautiful you are. I really like you, so be my boyfriend. If you agree, I will buy you delicious treats every day. Cannot wait for your reply." Lin Fan looked at him for a while and muttered, "A person once told me that psycho are not worthy for love. I would never have thought that someone would confess to me. It seems that my beauty is too great, but alas, my life is devoted to cultivation." He put down the love letter and left the school. At that moment someone touched Lin Fan's shoulder. "Chen Qiang, wait, come with us." Lin Fan pinched his nose as he smelled a stinky smell. Only those who had not washed for several days could smell like that. He turned his head to look at the person and remembered who that classmate was. Long yellow hair, tall, thin, with a brown. Sometimes only introspection can help to understand other people. Lin Fan removed his hand from his nose and apologized. "Sorry, I shouldn't have pinched my nose, but you smell like you haven't been in a shower for months. Sorry for hurting your feelings." The tall and thin man named Tang Jai went cold when he heard this. His eyes filled with anger. He was about to hit Chen Qiang, but remembering that he was still on the school grounds, he held back his anger. "You seem like a troublemaker. I'm really angry right now, but if you ask for forgiveness, I will behave and just beat you to the death." All the bullies who were hanging out with Tang Ze grabbed their stomachs and laughed out loud. They didn't expect Chen Qiang to be so stupid. They really were ready to die of laughter. Tang Ze's face turned iron blue. He glared at his juniors angrily, frightening them so much that they no longer dared to make a sound. They all followed Tang Ze for one simple reason. They didn't want to be beaten. They liked being around a strong person and feeling safe. Who dares to bully us? Who dares to play a tricky on us when he is around? "Come on, let's go. I'll beat you for a long time," Zhang threatened. "But if you dare to scream, you will feel worse. If I see even a hint of screaming, even if I get kicked out of school, I don't care. You won't be able to get out of bed anymore." Lin Fan calmly replied, "You misunderstood everything. I will not yell. I don't want to be kicked out of school." He extended his hand to Tang Ze. "Hi, let's get to know each other again." Tang Ze looked at Chen Qiang, who was smiling like a psychopath. The students passing by kept looking back. They knew Tang Ze. Even outside the school, many knew this bully. At school, he constantly insulted and mocked his classmates. Many hated him, but in the midst of all this, there was a little strange thing. There were so many people who hated him but still tried to get close to him, as If it was a matter to honor, say others, I'm Tang Jae's friend, and now they prayed in their hearts, I hope Chen Qiang can survive. A classmate who had just recently given a love letter to Lin Fan was hiding behind a tree and watching intently. She wants to know how will Chen react to her letter. After pondering this for many days, she finally mustered up the courage to confess to him. But after seeing Chen Qiang run into Teng Ji at the exit of the school, she was very worried. They were hooligans and they wanted to beat Chen Qiang. In her heart, Chen Qiang was a very polite and diligent boy who loved cleanliness. The other girls said that Chen Qiang was a real wreck. They preferred Tang Ji, who was very strong and popular. It was a competition between all schoolgirls. If anyone finds out that her boyfriend is popular for fighting, everyone will definitely be afraid of her. That's what she hates the most about these guys. School is a place for learning, not for bullying. In the alley, Tang Ze pinned Lin Fan against the wall, showing his fury. You just signed your own death warrant. As soon as he agreed, Tang Ze raised his leg and kicked Lin Fan's leg. He didn't make a sound. Tang Ze frowned, his leg hard like he had kicked steel. Several schoolchildren around grinned. One of them took out a cigarette and lit it. Exhaling thick smoke, they didn't care about him at all. To them, he was like a fish on a cutting board. Dare he resist? Give me all the money you have, Tang Ze said. Money? Are you talking about these papers? Lin Fan took out the money from his pocket with a smile on his smile. Lin Fan took out the money from his pocket with a smile on his face. If my classmate needs it, I will not dare to object. I'm very glad that I can help you. Who needs your help? From now on, you will give me money every day. If you don't pay, you will die. Tang Ze grabbed Lin Fan by the neck with a vicious expression. He likes to bully others. Seeing the frightened face, he gets great pleasure. Stop. At the moment, an unidentified figure entered the alley. Xiao Fangan was very nervous, but she still bravely said, How can you bully your classmates? If you continue, I will tell the teacher. Tang Ze turned his head and said, It's none of your business, get out. One of the bullies said, Hey, isn't that Xiao Fangfang from the class 6? Whoever confessed to her was completely rejected. Xiao Fangfang called out, Chen Qiang, let's go tell the teacher. Lin Fan looked at Xiao Fangfang, who was the same classmate who gave him the love letter. What a brave man. Ignoring her, Tang Ze forcibly reached into Lin Fan's pocket, finding a love letter from Xiao Fangfang there. Wow, a love letter! Oh, someone gave Chen Qiang a love letter. I'd like to see who wrote it. Xiao Fangfang. So it was you who wrote the letter. Then I'll read it right now. Tang Jie enjoyed doing such things the most. Build your happiness on the misfortunes of others. Don't you dare read it. Xiao Fangfang's eyes burned red. It was a love letter that she mustered up the courage to write. It wasn't big, but she thought about it for a long time before writing it, and it was because of this that she decided to come to court. Grab. Lin Fan grabbed Ze's hand and calmly said, Classmate, this is too much. Tang Jie wanted to hit Chen Qiang, but Lin Fan pressed down a little and threw Tang Ze against the wall with a bit of distress. Tang Ze hit the back of his head against the wall. Tang Ze, who was in great pain, held his head and shouted as loudly as he could. Everyone watching what was happening was shocked. "What are you worse? Beat him!" Tang Ze shouted. The junior Tangzes looked at each other and then at Chang Yang, who had reason in their eyes. Lin Fan turned his head and looked at this coolie. When their eyes met, they were horrified. Lin Fan clenched his fist and punched Tang Ze. Tang Ze's pupils dilated and he closed his eyes as he felt the wind from his blow. Tang Ze heard a loud sound and he felt a bit of pain as his shards of stones went through his ear. "Open your eyes." He turned his head in fear and saw Lin Fan break through the wall. There was a small crater in the wall. The wall was still crumbling. "Classmate, you are behaving very badly. If this happens again, I will already be more serious," Lin Fan said calmly. Lin Fan had his own blood on his fist. From hitting the uneven concrete wall, his fist naturally suffered. He moved away from Tang Ze a little, took the corner of his t-shirt, and wiped the blood from his fist. "Don't bully people anymore. Do you understand me?" When Lin Fan cleaned his fist of blood, his cold-blooded expression was quite frightening, as if he was not a person at all, causing all the people around him to tremble in fear. "I got it." Tang Ze was trembling, apparently out of fear of Lin Fan. He had never before seen a man be able to break through a wall with a single blow. What would happen if he hit him? He was afraid to even think about it. Lin Fan gave Tang Ji a few light slaps and said with a joyful smile, "Good classmates, you can go home. Your family is already waiting for you. Also, eat more meat. You are all quite thin, and this is not good to eat." All the hooligans looked at Lin Fan with fear in their eyes. "Chen Bek-soon, we will never even dare to think of attacking you again. Bye." "Sorry, couldn't resist." They immediately ran away. "They're just kids. How did their parents let them do that?" Tang Ze ran away with them. Lin Fan picked up the love letter, walked over to Xiao Fangfang with a smile on his face, and extended his hand to her. "Hello." Xiao Fangfang looked at Lin's face. It seemed to her that his smile was brighter than the sun. She returned the handshake. There were only a few things she thought about. What a warm hand! Such soft hands! The fingers are long and thin, the nails clean and beautiful. I would like to hold his hand every day. Chen Kiang, will you be my boyfriend? I know I'm not that good for you, but I will work hard. I promise I'll become as beautiful as you." Xiao Fangfang plucked up her courage and told everything she had in her heart. Instantly blushing, she looked at Chen Qiang, and when she noticed that Chen Qiang continued to smile, she saw hope. "So are you going to be my boyfriend?" "No," Lin Fan continued to smile. Then he went to the bus stop. Crack! It was the sound of something breaking. Xiao Fangfang felt her hopeful heart shatter. Xiao Fangfang squatted down and cried, "My first love is unsuccessful." At the bus stop, Lin Fan was waiting for bus number 666. Standing at the bus stop, he somewhat stood out among the people around him. Cold-blooded and indifferent to everything that happens around, the bus came to a slow stop. Showing his student card to the driver, he walked to the back of the car and settled into an empty seat, looking at the scenery outside the window. Then he took out his smartphone from his pocket, turning it on. His screen lit up faintly and demanding a password. After some thought, he entered the password. 5:08. When he entered the class conversation, he found that the once lively conversation had ceased in the morning after the first lesson. Chen Yang, classmates, are you okay? From now on, chats will be displayed in curly brackets. When he came to the magical world, it seemed to him that the mission in his head was too strange. Lin Fan had to make sure that no one else would dare to bully him at school. He surprised by this request. He was nice and never provoked other people into it. Why would anyone bully him? Too strange. After he sent this message, all the classmates soon responded, but the content of their reply left Lin Fan confused, as he didn't understand what the three dots meant. Chen Qiang, you all studied so hard that you even fell asleep on the floor after going to the hospital. As your classmate, I'm going to visit you after lunch. Looking at the screen, Lin Fan was lost in thought. He still couldn't understand the meaning of the messages sent by his classmates. After a little thought, maybe that means you shouldn't be so polite, or that. Stop Oriental Plaza. Lin Fan got up, got off the bus, walked through a large crowd of people and returned home. When he opened the front door, he smelled vegetables. A voice came from the kitchen. Finally, our young is back. Go wash your hands. Mommy will cook you a meal soon. This family has always consisted of only two people. Lin Fan didn't see the remaining family member as he was constantly busy. It didn't take long for meal to begin. Yang, today Mommy made your favorite braised chicken wings. Your dad wanted to eat them himself, but your mommy left them just for you. The middle-aged woman took the chicken wings and put them into Lin Fan's bowl. I told your father to take the time to go to school in the afternoon. You must understand your father. It is very difficult for him now. Every day, early in the morning, he goes to work in the company until late. Everything he does for our family, so you must work hard. Lin Fan lowered his head and began to eat. The taste of the food was pretty good. This food was much better than the one served to him in the Qing Shan Psychiatric Hospital. Lin Fan's taste buds have already gotten used to this taste. As with smoking, there are many other ways to have fun, but for some unknown reason, people prefer smoking more. Over time, people continue to smoke cigarettes, not because they got pleasure, but because of addiction. My classmates were hospitalized this morning. I'm going to visit them in the afternoon, Lin Fan said. The middle-aged woman happily emphasized, our young is so caring. He already has so many friends. Your mother is so happy for you. When your father finds out about this, I'm sure he will be proud of you. After a while, dinner came to an end. Lin Fan returned to his room and sat on the windowsill, looking down at the people below. Gradually, he noticed that mother of this body, who leaned against the balcony of a neighboring house, calmly smoked a lady's cigarette, staring blankly into the distance. It triggered fragments of his body's memories, a few rare moments from the life with the head of this family. A group of people from Chanwei High School. There were only a dozen members in this group, and they were all famous hooligans of the Chanwei School. They take great pleasure in bullying other students, use their zero scores on exams as a source of pride, and brag about how good they are when they cheat on tests. Hey, do you know Chen Qiang from 3rd grade? Yeah, I know. Isn't that a dork? This morning, Tang Jie was beaten by Chen Qiang. I heard that when Chen Qiang hit the wall with his fist, a whole dent would form the wall. Frightened, Tang Ze nearly beat himself on the spot. Seriously? Go check it out. Yes, go check it's true or false. This information is a bit questionable, but still, watch yourself. Don't provoke him. There was a heated exchange of views. I think everything is exaggerated. If Chen Qiang is so strong, why did he let us mock him all this time? I agree there are many strange moments in this story. Suddenly, photo. Were you talking about the wall? The flow of messages in the group chat abruptly stopped, as if everyone was turned off the ability to speak at the same time. I lived near the school. After hearing what you were talking about, I immediately went to check. There is indeed a crater in the wall. There were a fist mark and a lot of blood stained hair. I can't believe that Chen Qiang is so strong. If this blow hit any of us, none of us would be able to withstand it. Gradually, all the members of the group fell silent. At school, they were invincible bullies, bullying the weaker ones in order to get rid of the accumulated anger that they received from the heavy blows of their parents. For them, bullying weaker students in the form. After lunch, Lin Fan took the money that the middle-aged woman gave him, and when he left the house, he went to the store. Wandering around the store, Lin Fan was lost in thoughts of what to buy. He looked at 200 yuan on his hand. I have to buy gifts for everyone, but I have so little money. What should I buy? The shop owner saw Lin Fan fussing around and asked, "Boy, what do you want to buy? Is this a gift?" "Yes," Lin Fan nodded. The store owner enthusiastically said, "Then you can buy 2 boxes of milk." Lin Fan looked at his 200 yuan again and wondered if it would be enough to buy milk. "Okay, then I will have 2 boxes of milk and 100 yuan ham sausage." Lin Fan put 200 yuan on the counter as if he felt that the purchase was very profitable. The shopkeeper looked at Lin Fan strangely. This was the first time she had met such a customer. But the most important thing is to satisfy the desires of the client, as long as it makes a profit. Lin Fan hugged 2 boxes of milk, holding a ham sausage in one hand and left. The hostess curiously ran to the glass door, looking at the departing Lin Fan. What a strange boy! During the conversation with him, she always felt that this young man was a little eccentric. This, of course, is a rather rude insult towards him, but in another way, she could not explain his behavior. There was definitely something wrong with him. Hospital. Lin Fan didn't know exactly which room his classmates were in, so he stood in the hall for a long time, lost in thought. When he figured out what to do, he hugged his things and began to go into each room, starting from the first floor. He thought that if he started walking around everything, starting from the first floor, he would definitely find the ward where his classmates were. Sometimes later, on the stairs, one could see a boy in a school uniform who, hugging his things, climbed from the first floor to 18th. He finally found them.